Hello, everyone. We have a new paper that was just published, and this one takes a very different approach to identifying the causes of ME/CFS, or myalgic encephalomyelitis chronic fatigue syndrome. And that is, instead of saying, here is the cause of ME/CFS, this project is saying, here is the cause of your specific individual ME/CFS. And what we found is that there are many different ways to get to ME/CFS. And so for you to be treated properly, we have to know which one of those paths your condition took. And that's what this paper is about. So let me introduce the paper. I'm going to do a deep dive on this. There's a lot of information here, and I will talk about that in a future video. Many of you know that I'm in the middle of teaching a graduate level course until May. Until then, I have to keep these videos pretty short, but things will get back to normal in May. But anyway, here's the quick kind of sneak preview. The paper is Uncovering the Genetic Architecture of ME/CFS, a precision approach reveals impact of rare monogenic variation. And the scientists driving all this work are Dr. Elizabeth Worthy and Dr. Camille Birch. And it was funded by a Ramsey Award from Solve ME. And this paper is actually open access right now. As of the date of me recording this video, it's not in its final journal format, but that's going to change soon. So right now, it's not pretty, but it has all the right information. So you can get a link to the paper in the description below. Again, it's open access, so anyone can get a hold of this and see and read it and see if it's useful for them. Okay, so here's how it works. Very simplified. You, as an individual with ME/CFS, give blood and you provide a detailed description of your symptoms and your medical history. And then whole genome sequencing is performed on your blood, which maps out your entire DNA. And then Dr. Worthy's team uses software that they've designed that can be used to identify the genetic variants that you have that can cause negative health effects. And then they're able to determine the likelihood that a particular genetic variant is driving your specific reported symptoms. Now, that is a horribly simplified explanation of what is a complex process that takes many, many pages in the article to go over. It basically pulls from massive data sources and is examining millions of genetic variants to pull out these particular things that may be causing your disease. Let me give you an example, and I'm going to use a couple of participants in the paper. I think all of them are interesting, but let's take participant number 5, and let me show you that one. So participant number 5 with ME/CFS, when they went through Dr. Worthy's analysis process, they were identified as having a pathogenic variant on gene ENO3, and this causes an inability to utilize glycogen or stored glucose for energy. And so it's triggered when someone is exerting themselves physically. And it can cause extreme fatigue, it can cause muscle weakness, and it can cause muscle pain. And so we can say this person has post-exertional malaise because they do, but we can go further than that. We can say why they have that post-exertional malaise. It's because they don't have access to the glucose scores for energy. All right, so let's do another one. Let's do 18. And 18 has a pathogenic variant on the MMA-CHC gene. Now, this variant causes an inability to metabolize vitamin B12. And so the vitamin B12 is not accessible. And that creates huge problems with fatigue, cognitive issues, and severe depression in most cases. You need B12 for proper central nervous system processing. So if you're not getting that metabolized, there's going to be faults in many of your processes. Now, the problem with this disorder, now you've heard about vitamin B12 and you've heard, hey, you got to make sure your vitamin B12 levels are high enough, making sure that you're getting access to your B12. All that's true, but this particular genetic disorder, you may have perfectly fine B12 levels, or your B12 levels may even look high, but you're not able to utilize it. And so the clinicians may miss that you have B12, but it's not being utilized. And so it'd be really important to know that. So you can see that this precision genetic approach can allow clinicians to identify and also tackle the core pathologies rather than just addressing the symptoms, because the symptoms can look the same among all these different groups that we've identified or all these different people, but the causes are very, very different. And so the treatments are going to be very different. Now, I encourage you to take a look at these cases. They're all very interesting, and the stories become even more meaningful when several family members contribute to the process. Now, this was just a small proof of concept study with like 31 individuals, but it has really revealed some interesting routes to ME/CFS that we need to explore further. I'm not going to list them all now. I'll do that at a later time. But things like oxygen transport issues, problems utilizing adenosine triphosphate or producing it, which is the energy that the cells need, problems with synaptic signaling of the neurons, a dozen plus specific causes, but they really seemed to converge on issues of impaired energy production, post exertional metabolic failure, and impaired stress response. So, if we can identify which of those you have, the treatments can be tailored to address your specific problem. So, this is personalized medicine. And personalized medicine has been talked about for decades now, but it's not used very much because it's complex and it is expensive. But if ME/CFS has 25 or 50 or 75 causes, then we have no choice but to use personalized medicine, because the traditional medical approach of saying, here, try this drug first, and then if that doesn't work, try this one, and then if that doesn't work, try this one, that's probably not going to work with ME/CFS, which is why it isn't working right now. And that's not a criticism of the medical practice overall. It's just saying that this particular disease, ME/CFS, is not properly addressed by that system. So that's a little sneak peek on this paper. It has a wealth of information on ME/CFS, and I look forward to talking about it more soon. There's also so much else going on. There's so many great papers that have come out recently. There's also a new FDA-approved medication for fibromyalgia we have to talk about. There's updates on new clinical trials that we have to discuss. Just so much going on. So I really wish I could do the weekly videos like I typically do. But again, it's going to be about 3 months before things get back to normal. That's okay. Until then, I'm going to jump in here every once in a while and do quick updates whenever I can. So I will be back later.